When I counted up my demons, saw there was one for every day, but with the good ones on my shoulders, I drove the other ones away.
So, to begin, what can you tell us does the word love mean to you?
What we think love is actually very subtle degrees of domination and servitude. But that's not love.
Other languages have a variety of words for the different types of love that human beings experience. So I can say something like, you know, I love tacos and I love my kids. And we all understand that that's a different kind of love.
I mean, one way to answer that question is it's attention. Love is attention to another individual. Religiously speaking, which I think is what you're getting at, you know, in the Bible it says, and we repeat these words in every worship service, you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might.
On the Buddhist teaching is the Buddha Shakyamuni. He emphasized the compassion. We Buddhists talk about love as we are thinking about more compassion.
What love means to me in that great big sense is it's the word that I use to describe the feeling that goes with compassion. Deeply rooted in the Christian story, Christian tradition, and it is the idea that God is love. I think that I can say that God is compassion, God is that force and feeling that runs with compassion. You know, over time, throughout time, Christians have said that when they are loving, they are closest to God.
When it says to love God, what that means is to do what God wants us to do. How do we know what God wants us to do? Because it says what God wants us to do in our scriptures.
Authentic love in the humanistic traditions, in the spiritual traditions, is something which is complete, which is unconditional, and that really is dependent on the state of consciousness of the person who is feeling that love. I might parrot many beautiful words, but what I really feel love is really a function of my state of development, my experiential understanding of love.
All right. What is your goal in practicing religion?
It's very easy just to fix this broken world of ours. No big deal. The job of the Jews, by doing these acts of love for God, we are called to work as God's partners toward making this broken world of ours into an unbroken place, to make it the kind of place that it can and should be. And it's a lot of work. But every time that we fulfill one of those commandments I was talking about earlier, we move the world one click towards the fulfillment of that dream. Right. The good news is that therefore I can move the world closer to the fulfillment of that dream every day of my life.
After we died and going to heaven or going to hell or Pure Land, that's not so important, you know. Most important thing is this world should be peaceful. One of the most first teaching of Buddha is do not take the lives. You know? It's meaning non-violence. This is equal to peace, peaceful world. That is our goal.
It is actually to be fully human, and not just fully human, but to be fully myself.
So why do you choose Christianity to find yourself?
That's the greatest question in the world. What's happened for me is that I realized that my experience of the world and the Christian story converge at a certain point. and the Christian story helps me understand the world that I've come to experience. What I found is that there's a huge convergence. It's like the lens drops into place. When I take that Christian story, I go, oh, wait, that helps. I see the world and myself a little more clearly if I look through this lens.
I think every religion has two purposes. One is to really become a better human being. We say in Islam to evolve into the fullness of one's potential. So that is really a very sacred task, to do everything possible within the framework of spiritual practices, to really strive hard to become a more complete human being. And the other 50% is to really offer our being in service to God's creation.
Yeah, no one asked me to do, but I just would like to do it. Yeah, that's why I choose this way.
Okay.
Yeah, no one asked me to do, you know. No one asked me to walk. No one asked me to save this earth, you know. But just my choice. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that if one really engages in the process of becoming a more complete human being, it flows from within to want to be of service. Because one realizes that unless I am also of service to others, if I don't orient the work that I do on myself in creating happiness for others, I will find that I am not complete as a human being. So in that sense, it's not a burden.
Right.
It's a burden if I don't want to do it and somebody keeps nagging me to do this and preaches me and tells me you'll go to hell if you don't. Then of course it creates a sense of rebelliousness because it's coming from an external source. So I feel that this desire to be of service will really bubble up from within if one is really given the space to become a better human being.
It is work. It is most definitely work. It is a lifestyle. It is a way of life that requires work. But I like to call it a practice. Never actually getting it right, but practicing. So it's a way of life that is a practice that does take work. Sometimes it comes naturally, other times not so much.
Done right, Judaism is a way of life. In fact, in Hebrew, there is no word for religion. And Judaism speaks to how we do everything. You know, not only here in the synagogue, and not only at home, but how we shop, how we go to work, how we interact with other people. It's a pain. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, it's great, and it's horrible. In Judaism, yeah, I mean, it would be much easier to be able to sit on the beach and eat bonbons and not worry about things.
Yeah.
Each Jew has this burden, has this enormous responsibility.
Let me go.
There's been a great debate going on sort of philosophically in the last 5 or 6 years. And every time I read that stuff, I go, do I need God? And the answer that comes back to me is, I think I actually do. And do I create God because I have a need for God? It's possible. Is that a bad thing? And I say, no, it's not a bad thing. Though, like any good thing, people can turn it into a bad thing. Right? God is not me. God is other. And it's other with a capital O. It's the other. It's the other. It's what's beyond me. It's what's under me. And then, strangely, it also ends up being what's within me.
Ultimately, I don't know what God is. If I did know, then that would be saying that God is something small enough for me to understand, which would be kind of a diss on God. What glimpses I've got is that God is that force that is calling the world to become better, to become a good place of love and dignity and respect that it can be. That God is a creative force in the world. That God represents the ultimate sense of goodness and calls me to live my life in a way that affirms that goodness.
No one really knows what God is because it is the absolute mystery. There's a wonderful verse in the Quran which says, that if all the trees in this universe became pens, and all the 7 oceans became ink, and you began to write out the mystery of God, and these 7 oceans were depleted and you replenish them, you would still not come close to describing a fraction of the fraction of the fraction of God's mysteries. The Quran does say something very important. The Quran says God is Zahir and Batin, outside of you and inside of you. So it's everywhere, within you and outside of you.
Touch the ground.
One of my concerns these days is that I see many people, often evangelical Christians, relating to Jews as a phenomenon rather than as people.
60% of people in many states in America were opposed to building a mosque. Only 37% were in favor. But here's the good news. The good news is that it was shown in the polling that each of the 60% who are so against mosques, each one of them did not know even one Muslim personally.
Oh, wow.
And each of the 37% who were in favor of building the mosque, each one of them, they knew at least one Muslim personally.
The greatest harm religion can do is the drive towards sameness. In other words, you can't be good until I make you the same as me.
Right? A person came up to me after a funeral once and said, Rabbi, we want you to know we're born again and we love the Jewish people. You don't really know if you love us yet because you don't know us. So come to temple, several weeks running. Get to know us a little bit. Then see if you love us or not.
And don't worry.
I think every religion has 2 purposes. One is to really become a better human being.
Really to be fully human.
And the other 50% is to really offer our being in service to God's creation.
We are called to work as God's partners.
I feel that this desire to be of service will really bubble up from within.
Right, Judaism is a way of life. In fact, in Hebrew, there is no word for religion.
No one really knows what God is because it is the absolute mystery.
I don't know what God is.
It's what's under me, and then strangely, it also ends up being what's within me.
So it's everywhere, within you and outside of you. God really created diversity out of the divine design, so we may, and the words are, we may get to know the other.
Maybe the best thing is to recognize our otherness, because then I don't have to make you like me.
Getting to know the other is something we prescribe if you really want peace in a multi-religious society.
I hope that this century and 21st century, we will share the same goal among all kinds of religions. We have a possibility to live peacefully. So that's meaning is any religion have a same goal or same summit. If all the people are climbers to the mountain, the summit is same, one summit. Just trail is a little bit different.
There ain't no reason things are this way. It's how they always been and they intend to stay. I can't explain why we live this way. We do it every day. Preachers on the podium speaking of saints, prophets on the sidewalk begging for change, old ladies laughing from the fire escape, cursing my name. I got a basket full of lemons and they all taste the same. A window in a pigeon with a broken wing. You can spend your whole life working for something just to have it taken away. People walk around pushing back their debts, wearing paychecks like necklaces and bracelets, talking about nothing, not thinking about death. Every little heartbeat, every little breath. People walk a tight